Hello, all. Thank you so much for having me. This is Upendra Mardikar. I am Chief Information Security Officer and Head of Fraud Management at TIAA. I'm very, very fortunate to be leading the team that protects, TIA and its assets. We are into retirement. What we take care of is the retirement of older adults specifically. That is very near and dear to our heart. How do we protect older adults and those participants where their retirement money is with us? And it's not only our profession, not only our passion, but it's a privilege to be running such an organization. Today, I am absolutely honored to have been given this opportunity to share my insights with this esteemed group of cybersecurity technology executive leaders for this CXO Trust Summit event. And it's always a privilege to be talking to all of you. Like many of you, I have been thinking a lot these days about the future. And there are so many things happening in the world right now, and I want to share my thoughts about where I believe we are headed in 2026. It is right around the corner. You guys might be preparing your dinners for Thanksgiving very soon, but 2026 is right around the corner. And in a world where so many things are uncertain, I believe one thing will definitely happen this year. So it is going to be an incredibly important year for evaluating use of generative artificial intelligence as well as agentic flows in cybersecurity, fraud, and from an investment and productivity, skill development, and technology perspective. Next year, we will become more dazzled by AI and its power, but also learn more about its shortcomings in launching. Lots of people are saying that are we investing? And there are lots of papers floating around it, as you might have read. So there could be some shortcomings in launching, detecting, and preventing cyber attacks. So we'll talk about it a little bit. And all of this learning will become much more widespread and profound in 2026 than in any other year of our lives, I should say. Yes, in 2026, we are going to find out a whole lot more about how bad actors use this technology in a very, very different ways, and how we can proactively use the same technology in new ways to detect and avoid them. With all this thing in mind, I'm going to share with you 10 predictions for how I believe this will unfold. And it will be fun, to have these conversations with you guys and, would be interested in your thoughts as well. And for these 10 predictions, for each and every prediction, I will offer some actionable steps so you can consider to strengthen cybersecurity and boost proactivity using AI. So I will start with external big picture predictions and then pivot to internal organizational predictions. Okay. So let's talk about the external big picture predictions. Let's dive, so for the external big prediction number one, AI is going to be pervasive impact across all industry. And it is not just one organizational phenomenon or one group phenomenon. From the external big picture perspective, it is going to impact all industries. So you will notice in 2026, more than ever before, that use of generative AI and agentic will have an incredibly broad and deep impact on essentially every industry's cybersecurity policies and procedures. Banks, consumer products, higher education, healthcare, and so on. And it's going to be, like I said, an industry phenomenon. AI usage will spread, mature, and crystallize more than ever in security operations centers, insider threats, the red teaming, the fraud detection, phishing simulation, and it will run the gamut. I see, lots of cyber organizations using AI and agentic and in these areas as well. So this technology will dramatically change the way cybersecurity and fraud teams perform tasks, or strategize, invest, detect, defend, respond. All these are going to dramatically change. So, how do we react to this prediction number one, which is an industry phenomenon, external industry phenomenon? Is count on AI being used in any industry or any cybersecurity and fraud application in 2026. Assume it's going to be leveraged in any way you can imagine. There will be plenty more evidence of that here. So, as such, I think one of the things, a team, that I will request you is to embrace this technology, embrace whenever and wherever it makes sense, because there are going to be resistance, more of emotional kind of resistance in the organization, and we may need to overcome this. So, embracing this technology makes sense. So, prediction number two is productivity metrics will be paramount. So, as organizations are thinking about risk reduction, how can they think about operational efficiencies and performance excellence? And to measure those performance excellence, to measure those operational efficiencies, productivity metrics will be bubbled up in the organization. Some of them will be top down, some of them will be bubbled up. So 2026 will be the year when a flood of reports will reveal what cybersecurity and fraud productivity benefits and generative AI as well as agentic will deliver well, and perhaps not as well as the hype has led us to believe. So some of that churn will start happening in 2026. Why 2026? Because enough time will have been passed, right? I mean, since unleashing of generative AI, November 2022, and then the agentic actually came in. So for the companies to collect sufficient amount of data and the metrics to evaluate the productivity gains or losses. So it is actually going from pilot phases to actual business value. In 2025, there hasn't just been enough cybersecurity performance data. Of course, some organizations have that. We also have some of that performance data to evaluate, but it is not as concrete, right? So, as we start getting into 2026, we will start seeing those metrics, and those metrics will become super critical as all of us leaders will be looking into those. So, what are the actions to consider for prediction number two? Invest plenty of time focusing on these newly gathered cybersecurity and fraud productivity metrics. Why? Because they will help you decide how much more investment you need to do in Gen AI, agentic, or whether you should do it or not. Because is this another RPA 2.0, or is it something more than that? So that kind of fleshing those kinds of things will happen in 2026, and we may need to based on the productivity metrics, we'll be measuring those. And keep this thing in mind. This next year is that it is entirely possible that we'll learn that productivity for some use cases will not have improved as much as the industry leaders have led us to believe, right? I mean, the hype benefits may not match the actual results, and that is what we should be all considering. And the key in 2026 will be to remain vigilant about what's really happening and what the bottom line results are using AI in cybersecurity, and assess from there as to how to move forward. So we talked about two predictions. Let's go to third prediction. The AI bubble talk will intensify. We already started seeing some of the conversations about the AI bubble, and there is, and it will intensify next year about whether we are in an AI bubble. So, that will be very interesting to see. In this context, I'm referring to the bubble just so that we are on the same page, in which the promise, the hype, the investments involving this technology for cyber and fraud don't actually achieve the actual performance results. So expect these concerns to spread further next year, there is a real possibility that the productive benefits might not match all the proclamations of how beneficial the technology will be. So, what do we do, guys? So, don't get lured into believing all the hype about generative AI, agentic in 2026. Really focus on specific ways it can help strengthen cybersecurity for your business, your needs, and then evaluate performance. The prediction number two, where we talked about the productivity metrics, really measuring it against the performance where you can see that if your investment is paying off and keep it real to your organization will be something to consider for you. And then is this investment worth it? And then looking at the numbers and decide based on those and not all the noise in the industry. So that said, let's go to prediction number four, AI agentic army. So this is something that is we are very passionate about. You will notice what does agentic army means. So that AI agents crawling all across, and so that is what agentic army mean. And you will notice a substantial uptick in the amount of AI agents forming their own armies, if you will, and ganging up and vying with other AI agent armies. A simple way to picture this is an army of AI agents created by cyber attackers trying to outplan, outreason, outstrategize a group of AI agents created by cyber security professionals. So that kind of dynamics, 2026 will potentially see unprecedented proliferation of these AI agent armies used to both launch and prevent attacks. So something to consider, guys. Across cybersecurity and fraud teams, what should we do from the actionable perspective is, this 2026 will be the year to get on board, the AI agent train because it is imperative to understand, to create, and use them to fend off the rising number of AI agent cyber attacks. Agentic will proliferate in huge volumes, so prepare and strategize to use them to strengthen cybersecurity as well as more effectively detect and prevent attacks. There, I also, a corollary to this prediction is that I will see a vending machine where the agentic will start popping out just like a soda. You press a button and an AI agent will pop out. So those kinds of things you will start seeing as a part of this prediction. And anticipate that next year will be the prime time to allocate much more attention, figuring out creative ways to restrict what data AI agent can handle, for how long and where they can share it. So lots of actions to consider. It will be very interesting. So those were the four predictions from the external to your organization prediction. What is happening in the industry and what kind of trends that we can see in 2026. Now, the remaining six, we will focus on internal organization. So we talked about external. Let's pivot to the internal organization predictions. And the fifth one, we continue on the journey of 10 predictions, but the fifth one is it will be year of learning and upscaling. And what I mean is in your organization on a massive scale, and consistent and persistent basis inside cyber and fraud organization, increased investments in helping cybersecurity professionals learn everything they can about the impact of generative AI, the new ways of agentic on detecting and preventing and creating the army that we'll talk about. They will learn, so you will, your teams or professionals a lot more about how to use AI to boost productivity and operational efficiencies. The amount of employee AI upskilling will rise noticeably across the wide range of cybersecurity professions. 2026, I think will be that biggest year, one of the biggest years of AI cybersecurity upskilling ever that we have seen. So that is a prediction in 2026. We'll see what happens, but actions to consider, while this internal dynamics is happening, is focusing on helping cybersecurity and fraud pros sharpen skills that will be in the highest demand. I mean, I predict that that will be a very high demand over the next few years, such as crafting security prompts, developing agents, detecting large LLM, large language models, LLMs, SLMs, prompt injection, cyber attacks over there, MCP agents, you name it, right? I mean, leveraging and retrieving the augmented generation to strengthen LLM responses. So lots of upskilling will happen, and as an action it will be wonderful, it will be required, in fact, that we all invest in our people, because people is our biggest asset. Okay, the sixth prediction is creativity and curiosity. So it's actually true. Not just a nice thing to mention that cybersecurity pros who focus on becoming excellent at innovation, at creativity, at curiosity skills next year will add disproportionate amount of value to their organizations. So reward those people who are actually creative and curious about this technology. This means that it will be vital next year to encourage these investments, to help our cyber colleagues spend more time using Gen AI in newly imagined and smart ways to solve cybersecurity problems. There will be a much bigger emphasis in 2026 on doing cybersecurity very differently. Guys, this is a very different world that we are ushering ourselves into, and figuring out imaginative ways, innovative ways, for example, to control what functions AI agent should do, shouldn't be allowed to perform. So there will be an ongoing debate between human in the loop, human on the loop. Should we make an adaptive AI or should we make it completely autonomous? Complementary to creativity will be growth in the demand for people who are insatiably curious. Being curious, that is, will become more than a word or an ideal next year. I strongly believe that it will be held as a skill to be developed, refined, and perfected, sought after the abilities for sure. During next year, cyber pros who are the most curious to learn more about AI and cyber, as well as the proactive in using these associated technologies simultaneously, meaning that they profoundly understand how they play off each other, and strengthen cybersecurity will make themselves highly marketable. So this, I definitely believe, in 2026 we'll see. So what are the actions to consider? Encourage, applaud, reward these cybersecurity professionals who fully embrace and demonstrate genuine, full on creativity. And do the same for those who show how curious they are by having a non stop, continuous learning mindset. Cybersecurity professionals that stand out next year will become the most sought after, and will be those who, with a broad set of skills that extend beyond just technical know how. Top performers will be able to synthesize their ability to use AI to identify cyber threats with the complementary strategic thinking acumen to decide how to block them, augment with firm understanding of how all this thing is interwoven with the entire business and its goals. And the cyber pros who bring this analytical, incisive skills from all the three disciplines, technology, strategy, business, will elevate their marketability next year in very meaningful ways. So without a doubt, 2026 be the year where the most cybersecurity pros will be upskilling in strategic thinking, business understanding, clear communications, and more broadly than ever. So what should we do? To augment their skills, their technical skills, we should encourage cybersecurity professionals and our teammates to widen their skill sets, to encompass and master the business and strategic thinking, discernment, coaching, supervisory, and judgment skills, especially using LLMs and agentics, will be in high demand in 2026 forever than ever. So in-person meetings, which is the seventh prediction, will rise as deep fakes increase. So this is a prediction number seven. During the coming year, you will likely to hear more about Gen AI, powered deepfake cyber attacks becoming more widespread, especially with voice deepfakes, because they are, yeah, especially very hard to detect, right? So related to this, there will be growing breakdown of trust using online video, audio due to deepfake proliferation. So you'll notice a shift next year towards more in-person meetings due to the growing levels of distress that people having using video and audio recording, and that turn out to be cyber attacks. So, yeah, a primary example of this problem has been avalanche of deepfake videos of fake IT workers that some of us have encountered and have used to land remote jobs with American companies. And these crimes will increase next year. So, what do? We train our employees and customers on the tips for detecting real world deepfakes, cyber attack, show them how voice and video deepfakes. So, it's all about training. Techniques are being used by the cyber criminals to sharpen their detection skills, and before we hire a worker or do a business with someone, seriously consider meeting that person face to face. That will be very important to make sure that the person is who they claim to be. So hold more in-person meetings to build that trust and reduce the risk of being duped into a cyber or fraud scam. That will be awful. It increased protection for older adults and younger adults. So this is very near and dear to TI and us. There will be and should be more emphasis next year aimed at protecting older adults from cyber attacks. These are vulnerable populations, guys, from cyber attacks and fraud scams. This demographic group is especially vulnerable to these criminals, such as IT support, investment scams, romance scams, and will need cybersecurity, assistance more than ever. Another thing is, talking about the spectrum, one side of the spectrum is older adults, younger adults. Younger adults also will become much more prominent focus as a target victim of cybersecurity in 2026. And they are even more vulnerable to being manipulated. For example, wishing and smishing attacks on their smartphones. So, what should we do? Establish awareness and training programs for educating older adults on the red flags and spot cyber attacks and fraud scams. It's very near and dear to our hearts. Older adults tend to be undertrained, and with this rapid evolution of technology, we need to prioritize protecting them. They'll need lots of guidance next year, lots of guidance, and we are capable of providing that as appropriate, so we should. To protect the younger adults, amp up the intensity in educating younger adults, because this is our next generation. They are sharing into a new world with AI. So younger adults, we should make sure that they are trained in cyber attacks. Talk to your kids, talk to your grandkids, and talk to your relatives' kids, because this is very important, guys, that we train the next younger generation on the cyber and fraud. Because, bad actors really prey on the innocence of these younger people. So 2026 should be a year to add these extra resources to make sure that they know how to spot a cyber attack or a fraud scam and how to avoid them. Nine, quantum, the Q day, the predictions can go all around, right? But you will notice more detailed planning, at least within the organization next year, if not the Q day. And then on how to prepare for the arrival of quantum computing. The blazing fast technology, when it arrives, will be able to break through current encryption, as many of you know. As such, it's a major cyber threat. So what should we do, right? I mean, invest a little bit more time on strategically planning for the arrival of quantum. I will not put it on the front burner, but of course, it deserves a back burner. Lay out more details about what you are going to do about this coming technology thunderbolt, in particular, making technological progress in developing post-quantum cryptography that will help overcome the threats of quantum. Lastly, 10th, and we made it, which is make cyber simple. That will be prediction number 10. 2026 will be a time to embrace a mindset of excitement about all the possibilities in front of us. We will rally together more as a community where everyone understands and appreciates cybersecurity and fraud prediction better. In that spirit, 2026 will be year to make cyber simple. By this, I mean creating simpler cybersecurity processes, operations, technologies, applications, strategies, investments, efficiencies, and customer experiences. Here at TIAA, our mission is to lead in lifetime income and delight our clients. One way we do is by making cyber simple. Our mentality is very simple that cyber doesn't have to be thought of as super complex and it shouldn't be perceived as such in 2026 with all these changes being thrown at us. You'll see smart decisions being made next year to be more effectively detect and prevent cyber attacks that are more practical, easy to understand, and support. So, what are the actions to consider? Commit as a member of this big collaborative community to make cybersecurity easier to provide and execute in 2026. Make concepts and insight easier to understand. Don't overcomplicate. Don't use jargons. Communicate about AI and cybersecurity in a way that resonates with people on an emotional level, focusing on bottom line business investments and prevention of financial losses. Those are the 10 predictions, guys. Hope you learned something from this. Hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And if there are any questions or you want to further this conversation, don't hesitate to hit me up on LinkedIn. We'll be very happy to answer any questions there. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.